Most of us have been taught about racism through a narrow lens, but it's just not that simple. Racism takes many forms, and before we can be part of the solution, we have to understand the problem. CEO of Portland Center for Equity and Inclusion, Hanif Fazal, and CEO of North Star Forward Consulting, Lillian Green, have dedicated their careers to empowering the community with an understanding of racism to create a more equitable future. Green says it's important to recognize that racism isn't one size fits all. In her workshops, she breaks down racism into 4 dimensions: internalized, interpersonal, institutional, and systemic. There's internalized racism, our own thoughts, feelings, and actions, conscious and unconscious, as an individual. This racism exists in things like a belief in negative racial stereotypes, denying services to someone based on the color of their skin, or denying racism even exists. Then there's interpersonal racism, acts of racism between one person and another. Fazal says this is how we're taught to see racism, how one person is treating another: harassment, discrimination from a boss, a racist rant caught on a cell phone video. There's institutional racism. Some use this term interchangeably with systemic racism, but Green makes a distinction. She says institutional racism is connected to the policies and practices that reinforce racist standards within a workplace or organization. This can be seen in discriminatory hiring practices, silencing of Black voices in the boardroom, or a work culture that prioritizes a white point of view. And that brings us to our main focus: systemic racism. This is how the other 3 dimensions are allowed to thrive in our society, both openly and in the shadows. Systemic racism involves all our institutions: education, healthcare, housing, government, and more, collectively upholding racist policies. It's the ripple effect from hundreds of years of racist and discriminatory practices that plays out today.